Hello, good evening, all. Good evening, good morning to wherever you are. Can you hear me, guys? Hello, hi there. So I can see few people joined in. Okay, great. Thanks, Abhinav. Thank you, Rahul. Okay, so we'll just get started. I hope you are able to see the screen. Okay, I'm just trying to view the presentation slide there. Okay, I'll be intermittently looking at the chat section. So I have these two screens out here, and I have the presentation shared in one, and in the other I'm like, okay, great. Hello Vaishnavi, hello Ayush, and all the people for taking out time on a Saturday evening. So thank you and welcome. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Let me know if there's any background noise, anything that is disturbing you or breaking your concentration. So please let us know, or you can just ping me in the chat section. I'm like on top of the comments and chats. Okay, coolio. Yes, Sohail, welcome to the session. Appreciate your presence. Okay, so I think before we get started, so just wanted to give a preface, or just wanted to set the context. So this is an kind of informatory or an introductory session on software testing. We have these two types of software testing techniques called as manual and automation, and the tool of choice is Selenium. So my name is Ravi Saranke. Welcome to the session. Okay, before we jump on to introducing myself and we start with the agenda, there was one question that was asked by one user, and I think so anyone, Ayush had asked this, so I'll just like to call out that how many of you are from the testing background? So just a quick yes or something could help me to understand the audience. Okay, Amit, great. Good evening, Sarita. Great. And how many of you are new to testing, or maybe veteran to testing, something of that, if I have to ask? And a subset and a secondary question to that is, do you guys have heard about Selenium, or is this like the very first time you've heard about Selenium? Okay, newbie, I'm new. Great. Okay, fantastic. So I think this entire discussion or the entire session is more inclined towards averaging out the entire crowd. So we have few concepts and certain demos that are scheduled, okay, which will touch base on all the aspects of software testing. Okay, so I'll try to cover the subject first, try to talk more on the trends, and then going forward we can then jump into test automation and what is Selenium all about, and we'll have a quick a walkthrough session. Okay, more of a hands-on session. We'll try to run a simple Selenium script and see how it works and what are the internals. Okay, Arvind, sure. I think there's many things that are lined up in terms of testing, and the Let's Upgrade team is very much enthusiastic about setting this up. Okay, coolio. Yeah, so I'll just jump on. Okay, so a bit about, I won't bore you in trying to give you a brief introduction. So my name is Ravi Saranke. I hold about 12.5 odd years of experience into test automation. So I started off as a developer and gradually moved into test automation. I am fortunate enough rather to work into multiple tools, technologies and domains. So I had brief experience with banking and finance domains, airline domain, life sciences, e-commerce, insurance, etc. My core development stack involves currently, like, it's Angular and React. More of the on the front end side is something that I'm trying to catch up with. but yeah, I have been aware of the full stack foundation, so that's something that I'm kind of pretty much aware of the full stack JavaScript foundation thing. I'm a Java guy. Okay, so I started off as a Java developer, so that's the primary language of choice for me. But not restricting to Java only, I have been experimenting with Ruby, Python, with recently with Golang, and what else? When I was working with one of the biggest financial company organization, I got a chance to working with some commercial off-the-shelf software, which we called it as the licensed softwares in test automation, something like Test Complete or UFT, QTP at the time. So I've been through that phase where I've seen Selenium growing up and the open source community coming up into where it is now. So yeah, I've been evident of the fact of how the industry moved or shifted its entire focus into open source. So yeah, so currently I'm like playing the role of the test architect, so with Mastec, and that's my current employer. And what else? Yeah, I've done my CDAC, so that's something that had motivated me to move into programming and development side. So yeah, so that's a short and sweet about me. We'll just get into it. Any comments, anything? No. Okay, cool. So let's jump into the agenda. So I think I've just tried to divide this into two sections. The section one being more in terms of understanding the subject, testing as a subject, and this section two, which is more inclined towards test automation and the way forward. Okay, so I'll just start with section one. I hope you're able to see the screen and you're able to hear me properly too. So I'll just, any comments, anything, I'll just take a quick 15-20 second pause. Maybe anyone, any queries up till now? No? All good? I'll take silence as no, or no comments as no. Okay, cool. Okay, cool, thanks, Q. So software testing. So I think pretty much we are aware of what testing is all about. So according to Wikipedia, so this is the definition that is meant to be for software testing. So it's an investigation conducted to provide stakeholders with information about quality of the software product and the service under test. So it's if I have to sum this up, so testing a software is something that has always been an integral part of the entire SDLC. We have seen from the time of waterfall model to current agile times, how have we grown and how testing has been grown into much more mature state what it is now, with the availability of open source tools and processes in place. Okay, so something that is defined by the customer to meet a particular client. Okay, something that as test engineers we happen to approach to a software, be it a web application or a mobile application. So something that meets to a certain requirements is something which I feel is validation and verification or testing. Okay, something that acts as a black box. Someone mentioned about black box. So let's suppose I have a flow wherein I just enter my credit card details and I click the pay button, and the payment should happen. It should deduct certain amount which is defined by me, and it will revert me back with a feedback saying your amount has been deducted and something like that. So this entire process, treating this as a black box and sending out or putting in the parameters and expecting a certain output, is something that we are testing the software. Okay, there could be multiple scenarios where we can validate edge scenarios, or in and around, you try to break the system in the approach of breaking the system, or trying to validate all the aspects, all the boundary values, what we can say in the ISTQB terms. So that is what software testing is all about. Okay, so again, to summarize, just to ensure that a particular software, a piece of code meets to its requirements as per the design, is something that we call it as software testing. Okay, cool. Why to test? So again, the question is, why do we need testing in the first place? So suppose that I am a developer, I happen to just write some piece of code, okay, which performs something, which does something as per the requirements. But as a developer, I am kind of boxed in, okay. I don't have that visibility of all the edge scenarios. So I am just creating a method or a piece of code which basically does addition, 2 plus 2 4, okay. But what about the user enters -2 and -2? What happens? Okay, so that vision or that perspective is something that we as test engineers have to look over the shoulders from the developer side and try to see how we can try to analyze and break the system and try to do boundary analysis or more of in terms of edge scenarios and try to see how the software behaves in terms of multiple parameters, in terms of multiple inputs, assignments, what you can say, arguments, payload scenarios, etc. and likewise. Okay, so this the overall agenda to do this is to ensure that that piece of code works exactly or behaves exactly as per the requirement. Okay, so a couple of scenarios we have listed here, as you can see in the slides. So there are 4 aspects to it. There are multiple aspects to it, but I would like to break it down into 4 major aspects. Okay, the first being saves money, second is security, quality and customer satisfaction. So there are 2 scenarios that are listed in saves money. A software bug caused the bank account of 823 customers, okay, so to be credited 9. So there was a glitch that happened in May 1996. I mean, that at that time internet was just taking up. So because of a software bug, because of a discrepancy that was there, which was untested or which was left without any testing to perform over it, led to a huge loss. Okay, and that's one of the key reasons we have to ensure that the software behaves as is in all its entirety. Okay, there's a malfunction of the routine upgrade caused the disappearance of the money from customer bank account. Can you imagine, like, you know, I'm trying to log into my banking system, my banking application or whatever that is, through a mobile app or a web app, and one fine day I just happen to see 0 balance. Okay, you go crazy. I mean, that's something that's you never want to see that. So you have to ensure in terms of financials or any mission critical systems that they perform to a level that it should behave as the same way, even with any upgrades or anything, any updates to the system that happens. It should not break the existing system or the functionality. Okay, so that's saving money there. Security, in terms of some bug crashing the system or vulnerability or something that is someone performing any nasty activity over your application or your critical data set. So that's something that we have to ensure, and that lies the security aspect to it. We have to ensure that the application is performant enough in terms of all the security vulnerabilities that one can think of, and we are testing all those scenarios in place. So that's for security. The quality, we now use multiple OSs, devices. There are these fancy mobiles that are coming, like, you know, foldable devices and stuff. So your software, your web application or mobile application should behave in the same way, okay, as it was earlier. Okay, be it any new form factor that any hardware company brings into the market, your application should also behave in the same way as it did earlier. Okay, so multiple OS, we have Linux, we have Windows system, we have Mac, multiple platforms, devices, browsers. Okay, so all these, I think we got a recent upgrade in the Microsoft Edge browser. They are now shifted their entire focus to Chromium, running on the Chrome's V8 engine, and that's like a very good very good move rather, they decided on to. But yeah, I think moving that entire, shifting the focus on, you know, liaising or leveraging an existing platform and building your wrapper over it is something that will need rigorous testing to be performed. So I'm sure the guys in Microsoft, before getting the product out, could have had multiple huge amount of tests performed on the Edge browser, on the latest Edge browser. It's you can check it out. I don't know if you have done it, but it's really amazing, the latest upgrade that they have done. Early fix, I'll talk about this later in the coming slides, and user experience. So user experience is something that any new update or upgrade that happens to your web application or mobile app, okay, it should not break the existing functionality. So that's, these couple of key things are taken care in the quality part, okay, and the customer satisfaction. So I think once just imagine like Flipkart, I think this even happened with Amazon when they have these big billion sales and stuff like that. So the typically there comes a point, or the fraction of second you tend to lose your session, okay, your order is not getting placed or something. Now that is a big impact, that affects your brand value, that affects your trust and relationship, and the overall user experience, I would say, okay. So that's something that we have to test it in order to ensure that with number of users loading to the system, hitting at concurrently at once, and making these transactions at once is something that is also taken care. So customer satisfaction is one of the key things which we have to take into account while doing a test, okay. So I'll just move, guys. This is more of a theory in the initial slides, just to set the context, and then we'll jump on to other things. Cool. So need for early testing, this is what I just mentioned here, early fix and user experience. So what happens if we are not doing something called as shift left, okay. So there's this typical jargon that we use in the testing or in the SDLC cycle, that you should do or move towards shift left, okay. That's kind of engaging your testing activities early in the software development cycle, okay. So you can see the matrix there. The cost to fix a defect, okay, at the requirement phase is 1-fold, okay. When it goes to architecture phase, it's 3 times, construction 10 times, system test, and post release. If there is a bug that is found when your software is released, the cost of fixing it is 100 times, okay, because it impacts the entire system. You have to do multiple regressions, try to see other things are not breaking, etc., and then put up a fix in place, okay. So it's kind of critical at this point in time, since things are moving more into agile excuse me. So we have to ensure that the early we try to perform these testing activities, the better feedback, the faster feedback is something that we'll get, which will ensure that the software is maintaining its quality and is liaising to the requirements that it is meant for. So typical benefits that we have listed here: common mistakes made by developers, okay, just 2 plus 2, okay, not taking care of -2 or -2 plus 2 scenarios, something of that. Keeping bugs from proliferating, so that is something that you don't keep the bugs existing in the application, okay. So some of the scenarios that we can think of intelligently in a way to try to knock off or try to break the system down. Faster feedback, obviously, yes, once you move your focus into shift left, that is, you get engaged right from the way the first line of code the developers have written. At that point in time, you engage into testing, more of unit testing or acceptance testing. So that way we can try to knock off the bugs that are there, that could exist in the system at an early point. Documentation of bugs, bringing the overall software cost and business growth due to continuous quality improvement. Okay, cool. So that was about the need for early testing. Now let's shift our focus into the current trends that we can see in the testing paradigms, okay. So we often hear about AI and ML and cognitive testing. So that's one. I think fintech and banking is one sector which is growing in leaps and bounds and trying to validate these systems. I could add up blockchain also there, okay, because that is something that has been implemented. I recently read an article about HSBC bank implementing a blockchain platform, and users are leveraging it to do their payments. So that's very impressive. So yeah, so this is one key focus, AI and ML and cognitive in testing, that we can think of targeting. It is not just because it's an algorithm that is predicting you something, that is telling you something. We have to create a smart algorithm to try to test it, whether the prediction and everything is indeed correct, okay. Sorry for the interruption. So Piyush, maybe I'll take that question, or just to give you Is testing good over development? Nothing is good over anything. Okay, it's your focus or your perspective or your willingness. If you want to jump into development, right on. Developers now have to mandatorily write unit tests. So again, testing is embedded into the development part. It's no like one over the other, never. Okay, so we'll shift the focus back. So AI ML cognitive and testing, security testing. I think that's one key thing which is now picking up, or which I foresee will be the more focus for everybody that is there in the industry, because of the recent hacks and everything that we get to see. Some systems are getting hacked. I think multiple mobile applications which we try to store data for, even they get hacked. So all the data leakage and everything is there across. So security testing is one key area which testing should be focused more. Microservice testing in the age of serverless now. I think serverless, microservices, APIs, headless, architectures. This particular area is something that will have a major impact in the coming century, I would say, unless we move into more of native browser testing. So yeah, so microservice testing is one key area which will flourish and which will have major focus for testing. Smart device testing, I think this is more in terms of smart devices, mobile as well as IoT testing. I could add up one mention there, IoT devices, since we now have, or we are living in the age of where we get to talk to these Raspberry Pi devices and across, and testing of these devices could be a revolutionary thing, or could be an area to look up to. Performance engineering, that's the big billion scenario that we can think of, where I think 50 lakh 1 crore people hitting your site concurrently and trying to make a payment, and every payment happens in the fraction of time without getting a deadlock. So how that happens, how to create or how to emulate that much of load or that much of users onto the system. So that's something performance engineering could be thought of, and testing over it. And big data. So big data is again something that is not unleashed yet, but certainly it is more in terms of crawling the entire data set, okay, and making sure that the output that it predicts or it is used or it is processed is accurate to the system. Okay, so I'll just take a quick pause. Any queries, anything from anyone? Kunal, yes, definitely we'll try to share. I think Yogesh mentioned that. Anything from anyone? No? Okay, I'll move on. Okay, so types of testing, as we discussed, it's more of manual and automation. So manual is something that you do manually. So let me just, okay, so there's a smart animation that came in. Okay, cool. Starting out as a tester or developer for the role of SDET, I think you should know both, more of full stack, I would say, okay, but don't get inclined more into development. Have the specs of testers, and you approach to development. We'll take on the queries later. I'm sure there are a lot many, and people are kind of on a deciding path. So I'll try to guide and give my perspective on things. We'll be using Python or Java. We'll talk about that. Okay, cool. So again, coming back to the topic, so manual versus automated testing. So no testing is something that we cannot think of. We cannot go in production like that without checking all the scenarios and stuff. Manual is something you do it manually. So suppose like I have to make this banking payment and try to ensure that the payments what you can say functionality is working as expected. Okay, so again, nowadays we have multiple options for payments. We have wallets, we have what else, credit cards, debit cards, okay, and UPI payments, etc. So all these four functionalities, doing it manually or approaching to the system and entering the debit card details and checking it in person manually is something tagged as manual testing. It's a couple of drawbacks there: time consuming, low reliability, human resources, inconsistent. So there could be a point, just imagine if you are told to do that redundantly, okay, try to test these 4 scenarios on these 4 different payment options at every release or every cycle, it will be a redundant and time consuming or low reliability, because nobody will be interested enough to again and again do that. I mean, as when we start off, it's okay, but going ahead we should think of any smarter way to approach to this, or this entire testing piece to be taken care. Okay, so that's where the automated testing comes into picture, and automation is something that will help us in automating these scenarios in an automated way again. So you just need to do certain configurations, and you have to script certain items, etc., and the scripts, the automated script, will help us evaluate and analyze and validate the system behavior. Okay, so moving on. So the type of testing and automation, I hope I'm going okay. You're able to get the gist of things. I've tried to make the presentation descriptive enough for a newbie to a veteran to understand and adapt to things. For a new person, obviously, yes, once we try to see things, it will make more sense, because these keywords may be new to them. But yeah, please be with me. I'll try to help out. Okay, cool. I'll take 2 queries. Sorry again for the pause. So Sunny has, how testing come in considering complexity of analytics compared to a traditional software development? Brief on RPA as far as testing is concerned. We'll take this query later after the session. I'll talk more on the RPA, because there are many confusions about RPA and Selenium, because they don't do testing. Both of them are not testing tools. I've been sharing this since a long time. But yeah, there are a couple of friends who still argue with me how RPA is good and better at Selenium, but it's not the case. Is manual testing important? Yes, it is. I think once a functionality is being built, so again Piyush Wagela has asked this query. So the first time your functionality or the application is being built, there has to be a 1, 2 or 3 rounds of iteration, manual iteration, to be completed before we put that or qualify that particular scenario into automation. So I have a slide which will help you understand that. What about WBT, web-based testing? Vaishnavi, do you mean that? If yes, just say a yes. Do we have more lectures on automation testing? Yes, definitely, Akash. There are multiple things that are lined up. So yeah, Vaishnavi, I'll take this query later. Maybe you can say a yes if WBT is web-based testing, okay, or Windows-based. I'm not sure on that. Okay, white box testing, coolio. I'll talk about it maybe in the query later. So type of testing. So these are typical types of testing. You may argue there could be multiple testing types that could be added to this list, but this is the entire, not the entire, but something that is more importantly or more focused areas for automation. And automation, can you show test case for manual and automation? I think I can show you automation for manual. Maybe I can share some scenarios of how to write manual scenarios, so that way we can. Yeah, Yogesh, thank you for the assistance there. Yeah, you can get into the discussion group and reach out, so that will help me to assist you there. So regression, functional testing, smoke testing, data driven, file comparison, web services. Web services also include API, microservices, etc. Database testing, end-to-end scenario testing, creating test data, transaction processing. So there are some batch jobs to be triggered. Some files should be present in a folder, and then you do a FTP and then query it. So all these are good candidates for test automation, and all these bring out good ROI, that is return of investment, okay, when you try to automate them. Okay, so regression testing is something that is more liaising, where you have certain scenarios, like I think Piyush asked this. So once you have manually tested a functionality, you have those test cases or scenarios, okay, which are now kind of redundant, and that will qualify into the regression bucket. So you can pick out these scenarios or test cases and qualify them to be regression scenarios. So these all scenarios are those scenarios, the regression scenarios, are those scenarios which should work as is with any new updates or upgrades that are happening to the new builds or deployments that are happening with the web app or a mobile app. Okay. Functional testing is the approach of functionally testing the application, so more of checking the addition. Okay, so something that you can think of as a black box. Okay, so I should do 1 2 3 4 and it should evaluate and give me 8, 2 plus 2 4, something of that. Smoke testing is that testing which will give you a faster feedback of the build. So typically we assess this and we label this as smoke and sanity check, just to ensure once we get a fresh new build, we have these 20-25 odd scenarios which we typically execute, just to ensure the health of the application, whether we are good to get started with the full-fledged testing, a yes or a no. Okay, data driven and file comparison, so this all will come into the automation category. Need for automation. So I think the major factor or the objective for automation is ROI, faster feedback. Okay, and there's one point where it says allowing manual testers to focus on new ways of finding defects. So something called as exploratory testing. Okay, where you try to randomly think of breaking the system or think of any edge scenarios, which will be one-off scenarios which could bring out some glitch in the application. So yeah, so I think the need for testing is, if I have to sum this entire thing, okay, obviously there are these points which are very critical for jumping or concluding onto automation, but I think it is ROI, faster feedback, which will improve the quality of the application, and let the functional team or the manual testers focus on those areas which are untouched. Okay, so that's okay. So when to automate, I think there's two boxes you can think of. Okay, so tests that needs to be run on every build, regression scenarios which I just mentioned. Okay, so those are the cases, the left high scoring test cases will qualify for I'll take this question later, Akash, will qualify for automation. Tests that use multiple data values, something that are data driven, that is data intensive, or more of you have to enter more data or check with multiple data sets, that qualifies for automation because it is redundant and time taking tasks. Complex and time consuming test, like I mentioned, great deal of precision, multiple repetitive tests, and multiple OS browser combination. Low scoring is usability, one time testing, interface, and backend testing. And something like we just need to check one flow just real quick, you don't need to automate that. Anything that you can label as ad hoc. So the overall objective is more repetition is better candidate for automation. So always remember that. So any test cases, any scenarios, anything that you can think of which are repeating in itself is something that you can qualify for automation. Cool. I think we've reached to section 2. I'll just quickly pick up on 2. Yeah, so Ronnie asked, will we be using Python or Java in this session? So I think we'll start off with Java. I don't know. To be very honest, I have seen Python being used more as a glue language. Okay, more in terms of utility-based automation, not a full-fledged automation. Obviously, it is. The language got its value due to data science. Okay, let's be honest. Selenium itself is written in Java. The entire WebDriver protocol is itself written in Java. So yeah, but there are language bindings which are working fine. I happen to create frameworks for 2 of my clients, and they are working well till date. Okay, there is no harms. All the upgrades and everything in terms of maintenance is taken care properly. But I feel there are a lot of hiccups in terms of the modules and libraries, the rich modules and libraries that you have in the Java world fall short for Python. So don't get me wrong there. Okay, it's a beautiful language. Every programming language is beautiful. I don't want to get into language wars and this is best than the other and stuff like that. But yeah, more of, I think it's about your nowadays it is more intended or inclined towards the development stack. So typically that there's a say that whatever your developers are using, the language and the stack for building up the application you liaise the same language and the stack for building your automated tests. So if it is Node.js, better be inclined towards JavaScript. If it is a Python Django project which they have built up, use Python Selenium. Okay, but trust me, I think Java and JavaScript are the language of choice which heavily dominate this space, automation space, and it's been 12 years. I've never got stuck anywhere using Java as the language of choice. So that's something that I can assure of. You have beautiful libraries and all the support, and you just Google any keyword there, and in the first result itself you are able to get your answers there. So yeah, and that's very important when your manager is onto tight deadlines. I think preferring a stack which is proven or tested, or which is battle tested, I would say, all these years, liaise with that. And yeah, for this session I'll just take a quick example in Java, but yeah, in the coming sections maybe all you guys can have your preference there. We can plan for any paths, okay, Java path, Java Selenium, Python Selenium, and JavaScript Selenium, something of that. Okay, another query, and then we'll jump on to section 2. Sunny had asked about RPA. So okay, Arvind, ad hoc is something that you do it on the fly, some functionality or something. Suppose that your new build has come up and you want and there's a new feature of wallet payments. Okay, I don't know why I'm taking the example of payments, but yeah, okay. So wallet payments is something that is introduced. So you have to do some ad hoc tests in order to ensure that more liaising to once you complete with your smoke and sanity, you do a quick check whether the wallets are working or no. So that's an ad hoc. Ad hoc is like something that is apart from your entire regression set, your functional test cases, scenarios, everything else. You perform something else. Okay, just trying to think of breaking the system. Maybe is coding required for testing? For automation, yes. For manual, no. Okay, I'll take 2 minutes to answer the RPA. So RPA, as far as testing is concerned, so I think there's a common mismatch, or there's a common confusion of RPA tools and the testing tools. Now, though RPA tools behave and try to take care of the things in an automated way, I would say they do not test the application, they just mock the user behaviors. Okay, so understand the difference. So what you are going to see with the hands-on one sample script, Selenium script, is something that will validate, okay, and ensure that the system is working as expected. Okay, and we have a canvas wherein we can then do a query through the database, call a web service, etc., etc. But mocking a user behavior, okay, you record a script and then try to mock it with multiple data sets, is something that was done earlier by UFT, QTP, Test Complete, and other recording tools that we have in the market. So RPA does the same thing. The only difference is RPA is liaised, or it is inclined more towards some standard form applications. So something like PeopleSoft or SAP forms. So these systems have a predefined workflows that never change. Okay, and something that is very redundant in nature. Okay, so to take care of that, something like an RPA tool will definitely help. And because it is a Windows or desktop or a thick client based application, so RPA does a great job there. Okay, Selenium and other tools, okay, WebDriver IO and other web automation tools, they are web automation tools. They work only in browsers. We cannot automate Windows or thick client applications. So understand the difference there. Okay. With RPA also, there were few friends of mine who happened to argue, like they even did browser based automation. But you trust me, once you change the screen size and everything, okay, you'll see the failures there. Okay, so it is not straightforward. It is meant for a particular agenda is there for RPA, okay, that is robotic process automation. So you have these static forms and you have to do some data entry and you have to get some data out. So it is meant for that only. Let's not get conflicted with the testing and automation world. Okay, you can do that, but yeah, you'll certainly see hiccups going forward, and once your regression suite and you have to orchestrate and manage things, you'll come to know. And I think it is not DevOps friendly. You cannot plug it in the CI/CD pipeline. That's something I don't know if the new players in the market are taking care or no, but yeah, with Selenium it is like a cakewalk. Sunny Saxena, why so if Java is down? It's okay, it's like a boom. I don't see Python automation is not a boom. I think with data science and machine learning and all these new good things that are coming into the market, it's the Python is the language of choice because of certain libraries which are mature and available enough, which are doing a very good job. So that's why Python is the language of choice for machine learning and other things. Okay, you can use that for Selenium automation, but I think once you start doing it, in Java and you try to do it with Python, you'll see the difference. You try to search for an issue or try to find a particular solution for a certain scenario, you may get stuck. I'm not sure, so you may get stuck because I had some nasty experiences, so I'm just sharing it. But there's no harm in learning the language itself. The API remains the same, the methods remain the same, so I think you knock it off in Java or JavaScript, it will be both. Everyone is going for Python. I'm not sure why everyone is going for Python. So the last line for going for Python is due to, again, it's the data science and machine learning space which is dominating now, which is kind of a new thing, okay, in the market, and that is the reason. But for test automation, you can see the statistics in place. The recent Stack Overflow developer survey or any developer survey you pick up, I think Apply Tools also shared a very beautiful developer survey. The language choice of language that is heavily used for test automation space, and you'll get the answers there. So though I understand there's a lot of Python, yeah, correct, especially for Python only I'm saying for automation. Okay, so it's something that you learn the language, the API remains the same, there's no harm, Sunny. If that's the language you prefer, happy to do that. Okay, by the way, I think talking about Python, I happened to recently release my open source library, okay, very first open source library which is written in Python, which is called as NumPy. So please check this. I'll just put it in the comments. Okay, so that's written in Python, just if you feel that I'm kind of getting biased, but yeah. Okay, I'll continue with the section 2 because we have just few minutes left. Cool, yeah. Okay, there was a slight lag in the presentation, so you should be able to see now. Yes. Okay, give me a yes if you're able to see two beautiful faces of the most wonderful developers. Yes, no, yes, great, thank you guys. So we'll jump into Selenium. So what is Selenium? Selenium is a software testing framework. I would not say framework, it is kind of a suite of tools, you can say, for testing web applications. Okay, so it was developed in 2000, it started its development, the first draft was started in 2004 by Jason Huggins, this beautiful guy here. He was working at ThoughtWorks and he came up with this idea of automating something. So at that point in time, it was majorly JavaScript, the first draft of Selenium that was written. So it relied on the excuse me, it relied on the JavaScript to do the heavy lifting and all the automation of the browsers. Okay, but later on, a very amazing guy called Simon Stewart, he jumped in. He took interest into this project developed by Jason Huggins, and I think it was when he was at Google from 2007 to 2012. At that period, he started off working with this entire Selenium thing, and he came up with a centralized API which is now defined as the gold standard for automating web browsers, which we typically call it as WebDriver. Okay, so Selenium is something, Selenium automates browsers, that's how the tagline goes. So it's a browser automation tool. Okay, and these are the developers, so they typically don't get the footage, so yeah, I happen to put the faces here just to help you see how they look. Okay, cool. So as I mentioned, it is a suite of tools. So Selenium suite consists of IDE, the remote control which is called as RCA, WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. Okay, the RCA and the WebDriver got merged into Selenium 2 and now 3, and now there's a new update with Selenium 4, which is the WebDriver API, which is now they have announced with the WebDriver API to become as a W3C standard. Now what does that mean? Okay, the way Selenium used to talk to browser, they had created their own protocol, which is popularly known as JSON wire protocol. Okay, so using that it used to communicate to the browser. But Simon Stewart and his core team, the developer team of Selenium, they took the proposal to W3C, and instead of a separate protocol to talk to the browser, Selenium version 4 will directly communicate to the browser. What will happen? So it is a standardized WebDriver API. So all the browser vendors, be it Chrome, Edge, anyone, they have to support Selenium. Okay, so going forward, now W3C, the World Wide Web, has confirmed that okay, this particular API is something that every browser should abide to. So I think if you invest time in learning this API, okay, you have a secure future in test automation space. You have my word there. Okay, so the entire implementation that is across the web, so mobile testing tools like Appium also heavily depend on web testing for mobile application. Appium internally uses the WebDriver protocol, and that is going to change. So with Selenium version 4, I think that is a de facto standard, and it's open source and free. So I would encourage you to learn Selenium 4 onwards going further, and be ready for test automation. Okay, so a quick comparison on the other tools. So Catalan Studio, UFT, Test Complete. Yeah, so the third line item, okay, which is more interesting, and the reason why Selenium got its popularity more is because of the support of variety of languages. Okay, so Java, C#, Perl, Python, JavaScript, Ruby, PHP. I think there are other non-official languages also supported, such as Golang, Rust. I've seen TypeScript also. So very interesting to see. I'm not sure if they'll get the official status, but I think there are variations that are there. Even Kotlin they have introduced recently. So yes, JVM languages are kind of fast enough, and the compile time is amazing. So yeah, so this was the one thing that triggered Selenium across entire developer community. So any application that is developed in any of these languages, people were able to adopt it. Okay, in the .NET world, in the Java world, in PHP world, people were able to grasp this. Okay, the other things, I think I'll share this slide for you to refer, so I'll not go much into it. Okay, so WebDriver automation. So this is the WebDriver interface. As you can see, the pictures in the left and the right. So WebDriver is an API which Simon Stewart has designed, okay, and the core developers, not to mention. So that interface act as a single point API, okay, for all the variety of browsers. So earlier it was not the case. You have to write separate script for each of the browsers. So there was a separate line of code that was to be written for Firefox, for Chrome, for Opera, etc. But I think with Selenium WebDriver, it is like one API, and the same methods get called, and you're able to automate your browsers. We'll see this in the quick. Okay, so I think we've reached to a point where we'll try to jump on and see a first sample script. So if you guys are ready by any chance, I'm not expecting that, but if at all you have Eclipse installed on your machine, beautiful. Okay, any JDK that is installed, that is the Java development kit. I would propose Amazon's Corretto. So that's amazing JDK that I have come across. So since Oracle JDK got licensed, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. So starting 2019, there's a license. So do not use that. If you have Oracle JDK onto your system, please remove that. Please uninstall right away. Use Amazon Corretto JDK 8. Okay, please. This is an open source production ready JDK backed by Amazon. And the most amazing part is the father of Java, Mr. James Gosling, is working for Amazon now, and he is actively taking care of Corretto JDK. so you don't need to worry about the performance and everything. Amazon says they are using this JDK for their production system, so I think that's it. Okay, so you need to download and install JDK Corretto, Eclipse. There's a Maven setup. Maybe I'll share a link to the tutorial. You can get an online tutorial anywhere. If you want anything, maybe I can put a step-by-step tutorial how to install or set up Maven onto your system. We'll then add the dependencies and we'll write a simple WebDriver script. Okay, so let's get right onto it. This demo or hands-on may not go well with new people. Okay, so don't worry about it. We'll have some follow-up sessions specifically for test automation subject. Yes, we'll do. Okay, so let's get right into it. I hope you're able to see the screen. Okay, so I'm using the Edge browser, Microsoft Edge. Not many people like it, but I don't know, I like it. So if you say Amazon Corretto 8, yeah, so you go to the download section. Once you go to the downloads, you have a link, Windows x64, and this is the MSI file, that is Microsoft installer file. So this is what you have to download and install. Okay, and once the installation is complete, you go to command line and say Java -version, and it should give you this feedback telling you the OpenJDK runtime, Corretto 825, etc, etc. Okay, so since that is set it up, okay, so what we'll do is we'll try to automate Wikipedia. Okay, we'll see how to automate this. What are the things real quick? I have this Eclipse, so this is the Eclipse IDE, that is the interactive desktop environment, integrated desktop environment, or anything like you wanted to say. But typically the editor, when you create a Java project, you write your applications in Java. Okay, so I'll just quickly share the link. Okay, so here's the link for the JDK. Okay, do install the x64 version, 64-bit, or just check on your Windows system what bit system you have, and accordingly try to install it. Okay, there's a Amazon Corretto 11 also that is available, but you don't need to worry about it. I think 8 should be enough for you to get started. Okay, so quickly in Eclipse we'll try to create a Maven project. So Maven is a build dependency management tool which will basically get all your dependencies referenced to your project. Okay, we'll have a brief discussion about this on how to set up and in the upcoming sessions, but yeah, so I think this is something for us to just get started. What if we in Oracle, there's no harm using Oracle JDK, but Oracle gets very nasty with licenses. I've seen in instances where Oracle people came to the organization and were like, so yeah, so just try to refrain or avoid Oracle JDK. Try using Amazon. If it is there, please uninstall it. Like I said before, do not use it. So let me quickly go to File, Create Maven Project. You get an option here. If not, go to Other. Okay, I'm using Eclipse. The wizards, just try to type here Maven. Can you share the link? I've shared the link, Jaikumar, if you can see here up above my comment. Okay, I'll type here Maven, just select the Maven project. Okay, you check on the create simple project type selection. I'll say you, okay, let's say let's upgrade, upgrade Selenium. Okay, and the group ID and the artifact ID is something that defines the main project. So you enter these details, leave the remaining as is and click on finish. It takes a while for it to set up. Okay, it's done for me now. So this is a typical folder structure that you get to here. So Mithil, I think are able to see the link and you are able to download, I hope so, from the Corretto. Okay, cool. So we have main Java main resources, test Java test resources. So 2 folder structures, okay, something that is a default structure for Maven projects. What we'll do is, where's the link? Okay, here's the link. You're able to get the link now. Just hit the link, select for the MSI 64, and that should be the JDK that you wanted to install. Okay, I'll just quickly jump onto, okay, so this is the folder structure. This is how it gets created. There's this pom.xml file, which is the driver for the entire Maven project. So here at this space, at this XML file is where you mention all the, you're not getting it? Is it the link that you're not getting? Yogesh, if you're there, can you help me out? I'm not sure why this is not getting through. Okay, I'll share the link maybe later. Okay, so you don't need to worry about it. Anyhow, so not getting? Is it getting now? Yeah, cool. So this is the default pom.xml file structure that comes. Where are you sharing? Because in the YouTube live chat we can't see it. You should be able. I'm sharing it here only. Just search for, don't worry, we'll, okay, Yogesh. So I think you can reach out to Yogesh and maybe Yogesh can help us out. I'll just continue. I'm running short of time, so let me show you a quick demo. Okay, cool. So I think within the project structure, so here in the module version, group ID, artifact ID, and the version. Okay, after that you can list all the dependencies. So dependencies are some jar files. Okay, so if you are aware of Java, we have these jar files. Jar files are nothing but Java archive files where you have classes and methods defined, and you can use them for your consumption, or any APIs, any modules, or anything that is available. The common way or the standard way of sharing it across the community is via a jar file. Okay, so where you can reference. So I think we have the pom.xml file, and here is the first thing. We'll try to add Maven dependencies. So we have this beautiful site MVN repository. You click here. Okay, I'll try to search Selenium. Okay, the first result comes for Java, Selenium Java. Okay, so there is a 4.0 series that is going on. It is currently in alpha stage. I would not advise you to use it in your production projects or anything that is you're getting started for automation. Stick to 3.141.59. This is the most stable version that they have. So I'll just click here. Okay, so there are other build systems that are available in the JVM space. So Maven is the most preferred one, but yeah, with Android and everything coming, so Gradle is also popular. Simple build tool is for Scala language. Okay, EV, Grape, and others are for respective languages. I'll just click here. Once you click here, it says copy to clipboard. So by default you have that in buffer. Okay, and before I paste it, I think we have to create another node which says dependencies. Okay, so here is what you mention the dependency like this: Control A, Control I, and save. So once I save, it will reference the Selenium Java jar files to the project, and now I am able to call all the classes and methods of Selenium into this project. Okay, so this is done. It's that simple with Maven. Okay, you don't have to hunt for jar files individually. Okay, let me create a small package here. Let's say this is a test package, or rather in the terms of com.letsUpgrade.test. Okay, so this is general convention in the Java world. You give the reverse internet domain, so google.com, so com.google.w, something like that. Okay, so I'll say com. And I'll create a class. Okay, so in Java everything is a class. Without a class there's no Java. So I'll say test Selenium class always starts with a capital letter. I'll check in this box which says public static void main, because I wanted to create a main method class, okay, something that we wanted to run at once, okay, as a Java application. So I'll say finish. It will create and land up me a template. We don't need this stub method, and this is a plain basic class that is created. Yes, Vaishnavi, thank you for that. So yes, you mentioned it correctly. Jar file is nothing but a collection of .class file. Obviously, yes, that is a compiled version of your entire project or library or whatever. Okay, so it has methods and classes and interface all bundled into one, and a common practice of sharing it across the community is all jar. So everything is a jar file here. Okay, cool. So what now? So I have a step 1 which says you have to set the system property. There's a step 2 which is create driver instance or object, and there's a step 3 which calls relevant methods. Okay, so there's a 3-step process, okay, and maybe the last one is wait and close or kill the browser instance. Okay, so maybe this can be step 4, and this should be step 5. Cool. Okay, so first is system.setProperty. For new people, you don't need to worry about it, just try to observe things. Okay, we'll get onto this later once we get engaged with in detail sessions. Okay, so we have to set webdriver.chrome.driver, okay, and the value is cool. So like I mentioned earlier, okay, so the way Selenium behaves is it takes the binaries. Okay, so every browser has its own binary. Okay, so currently with 3 version of Selenium, it talks to that exe file or a person which acts as an interpreter, okay, which does the communication to the browser. So you have to go and download the Chrome driver. So every browser version has its own. For Windows system it will be .exe file. Okay, so whatever browser version, so I think this one is 83 something. Okay, so we have to get that version of Chrome driver, set it up into the system. So this is 83.041 and etc. Okay, so go here and download the Chrome driver win32.zip, this file. Okay, so this zip file consists of the exe file. Now what happens is, whatever classes and methods that we write in the editor in the Java file, okay, that will trigger the exe file of the relevant browser, and that exe file is basically communicating the code that we have written. It's compiling and converting into set of instructions in JSON format to the browser. So that is the JSON wire protocol that they have maintained on. Okay, so once you download this, it will look or come like this, Chrome driver win32, and within that, if you extract, there will be a Chrome driver exe. What you have to do is you have to set the system path. So I'll say copy as path, and let me remove this. Okay, it should be / escape characters in Java. Okay, so the first thing, once it triggers the line number 10 is it checks for the system property. The property meaning the path, it is looking for the path for webdriver.chrome.driver. This key it is looking, and the value that it comes is this particular path. Okay, so this will instruct Selenium that go and take this exe file and do the talking for that exe. The second step will be creating the driver instance. So I say webdriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. So I'll just, yeah, like this. I'll put in the references. So import WebDriver from OpenQA. Okay, What is happening at this line is WebDriver is an interface. If you're not aware about the interface, at this point I will say go and Google it, okay? But it is just referencing the interface which the Chrome driver as a class is implementing it. So this class implements the interface, and that's why this statement is valid. A very beautiful interview question for anyone. Why do we write like this and why not? Because this is a class. Typically in Java we write class name, object name equal to new class name. So even this is also valid. If you write Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver, it won't shout. It is perfectly valid. But a general practice for cross-browser testing, you typically write it this way, okay? So this has created this instance. So the object is created of Selenium Chrome driver, okay? Call the relevant methods. So I'll call the first method. So you say driver, the object name dot, the method name is get. So get, it says string URL. So string URL https://www.wikipedia.org. Okay. What happens for line number 21 is, once you try to execute this, it will just invoke the browser and navigate to wikipedia.org. okay, that's that. Okay, wait, I'll just put a thread dot sleep for 3 seconds maybe. Okay, that should be enough. It will shout for a throws declaration. We have taken care of the throws, and what we do is we say driver dot quit. That is the quitting of the driver. So this is a sample script, you can say a Selenium script. Okay, so we are using the Selenium API. Okay, some classes and methods that we have used and interfaces. So WebDriver is the interface, this is the object instantiation part. Driver.get, get is the method which will navigate, it will invoke the Chrome browser and navigate to wikipedia.org. It will wait for 3 seconds and then it will quit. Okay, so let me save and try to run this and see if this works. Run as Java application. Okay, successfully invoked the browser, navigated to Wikipedia, waited for 3 seconds, and it had quit the browser. Okay, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, quickly I'll just add up 2 more statements. Okay, or rather I'll just make use of Edge browser. Okay, here it is. Let's say I want to enter some value here. Okay, how do I do that? Okay, so the way Selenium behaves is on the HTML attributes. Okay, so let's say I try to inspect. So this is the section, typical developers, Chrome developers section, the dev tools that they call it. Okay, so where you get to see the HTML that is rendered on the page. Okay, so you take this pointer and try to hover over this and inspect, or rather do a right click and inspect element. Okay, so it will navigate here. So this is the input box with a type search. Okay, so input is a text box again, as we all know. It has few attributes, ID as search input, name as search, etc, etc, etc. And with Selenium they have provided some list of classes. Okay, so if I say dot find element by, so there are 8 type of locators that we have with Selenium, something called as class name, CSS selector, ID, link text, name, partial link text, tag name, and XPath. Okay, so as we have just seen there, the class name is nothing but the class name. There's no class name here. Okay, this one, search input for that matter. Okay, for this input we have ID and name. So 2 locators we can make use of. Let me take ID. Okay, grab this ID and let's say I want to say ID. Okay, and I do a send key. So this is another method, and I'll put in the value as Sachin Tendulkar. Okay, cool. Okay, now this line of code, okay, what is happening with this line of code is we are just chaining the methods. So there's method chaining in Java. So can we install in OS 7 or OS 10, which is better platform? Windows 10 is better always, Jay Kumar. Okay, so line number 24 is method chaining that is happening, a concept in Java where you can chain the methods. Okay, so rather than having different multiple lines listed, in one line you can call this object, this method name, another class, and the method name, another method. Okay, so how that happens is something that we can see in the follow-up sessions. Okay, but this is one single line which will basically find the element, this element by ID, the locator strategy there, and send keys is something that we are passing the data to the keys. Okay, so this is Sachin Tendulkar. Cool. So let's see if this works. Let me quickly run this and observe. Okay, brilliant. It had entered the value there. Okay, cool. What else? I'm sorry, there's a lag in the system, so yeah, it's working now. So this is the way we can try to write a Selenium script and try to automate the browser. So as you can see, it is just few lines of code that you have to set up and add up the dependency for Selenium, and in this way we can just instruct the browser, try to add some data, do some data entry, navigate, validate, etc., etc. One interesting thing is you can sys out multiple things. Okay, let's say driver dot get title. Okay, so if I want to get the title of the browser, when it's done, so let's say I run this as a Java application again. So it's kind of very fast and handy, it will navigate, enter Sachin Tendulkar and wait for 3 seconds and close, and you can get to see the title that it has thrown in the console. Okay, so we have sys out the driver.getTitle, and there are multiple such helper methods and classes within the Selenium API which will help us to automate the browser actions. Okay, cool. So yeah, I can share the artifacts, I can share this sample project for your reference, and maybe the links for Amazon Corretto and other things. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation, and I think that's it. So thanks a lot. That's the way you can reach me out. I have a GitHub profile, LinkedIn, I'm kind of active there, and on Twitter. Okay, so you can reach me out in these social channels, and thanks a lot everyone for attending this session. Know how to click search after entering Sachin Tendulkar. So there are two ways you can see. Okay, maybe this is something that is homework for you guys. Please plan. Yes, definitely. Okay, so I'll take 5 more minutes. I hope Yogesh is not beating his head because I've just taken more time. But yeah, so these are social channels that you can reach me out. Happy to assist you. You can reach out to LetsUpgrade team and put in your queries and anything that you wanted to ask. Just 5 more minutes before, just wanted to have a quick feedback. What is that? Can I automate pop-up window? Yes, so there is something called as alert in Selenium, and using alerts you can be able to pop up that Chrome alert window that comes. Okay, you have to switch to alert and do a click there. Okay, so just wanted to ask you guys, like what is the language of choice that you wanted to study or you wanted to learn? So I'll just list. Should it be Java, Python, JavaScript? Okay, so these are the 3 languages that are typically used for test automation space. I think first and the third being more, but yeah, just you can put in your comments there, or maybe reach out to LetsUpgrade team to share your feedback so that we can plan sessions accordingly for the language of choice that is there in place. And yeah, so that's about it. Any queries from anyone? Thank you guys for your quick feedback there. Definitely we'll go with Java first and then maybe jump on to other languages. Okay, I think one thing, this is Sunny or someone who was telling about Python, so always remember one thing. There's this guy whom I follow a lot, very brilliant guy. Maybe let me give you a quick reference of him. He's called Stefan Mischuk. Okay, just go and search for this guy. He has huge amount of experience into web development and web development space more. Okay, and he talks really good about languages and how you approach to it, how to learn things, etc. One key thing which he often tells to all in his every session is basically wherever you are staying. Okay, so be it in India or abroad or whichever area. I happened to be in the US for a while. I got this opportunity, and they were using Ruby. Okay, the application was built on Ruby on Rails. So the language of choice was Ruby there, and there were jobs in that area. There were multiple jobs in that area. There was a huge opportunity and demand for Ruby developers. So all my colleagues and everyone were like Ruby experts. Okay, but you move out of that area, and there's a Node.js demand in the other vertical or other state altogether. Okay, so that's how you approach to it. You just see the requirements, see the job listings, try to understand what is there in demand in the market. Don't go by the buzzwords or those keywords. Okay, so obviously for your self-learning you can do it and get yourself updated and upgraded, but for professional purposes I think it's better to liaise with the market trends, and if there's a huge demand and you get references and everything for Java, do it for Java. If there are more nowadays, I can see the JavaScript trend is picking up more due to React and Angular. You have to learn JavaScript. Okay, so wherever you are staying, okay, in nearby area, see the job listings and prepare yourself accordingly. So that's the message that I wanted to give you. Don't fall prey to blogs and other things. Don't do it. You will waste your time. Okay, cool. So thanks a lot. I would like to end the session now. Thank you, and reach out to LetsUpgrade team. Keep learning, guys. Have a good evening ahead. Thank you for attending. Thank you.